Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me here this morning. Hopefully, I can provide you guys some insights on the rules. Certainly, we'll talk about the rule changes for this year. FIBA publishes a new rule book every 2 years, so we don't have rule changes every year, but every couple of years, and this year there are some fairly significant ones. As important as it is to understand how to coach your players in how to move on the floor, how to anticipate the passes, how to anticipate where to pass the ball, you have to know the rules. If you don't know the rules, your players don't know the rules, and they're not going to be able to play the game. Even if they know how to pass the ball and get open, they're going to be in the key too long, they're going to take too many steps with the ball when they're not supposed to, their contact is not going to be legal. So if you don't understand the rules, and they don't understand the rules, it doesn't matter if you know how to pass the ball. So while it's not the most exciting part of basketball, it's certainly a very important part of basketball. I don't know if everyone has a rule book, but Basketball Manitoba does a great job of putting the rule book together for us every couple years. These are being sold upstairs if you guys don't have them, but they've got the rules in them. Not only that, they've got a case book, which gives you examples of real life scenarios, things that we see on the court, and the way that we as officials apply the rules. It's easy to read the rules, but you need to understand how to apply the rules. There's also official interpretations in here, and that comes directly from FIBA. So you read the rule, you go to the corresponding interpretation, and all of the articles match, and you can understand how we as officials are going to apply the rules, so that there's no surprise. But it's important to know this. If you don't like a hard copy, I keep mine on my iPad. I always have it. There's the scoreboard app from Basketball Manitoba. It's available on the App Store. There's a docs part of the component to that, and all of these rules and the rule book are available there to download to whatever you're using, so that you always have it, because then I can search. I find sometimes this rule book and the table of contents can be a little bit difficult. What am I looking for? What rule am I talking about? And it may not be clear in here, but if you search on your iPad, on your iPhone for the rule, you'll find it and you'll be able to understand what you're looking for. So I'm going to go through the rule changes for this year, but please ask questions as we go along if you have them. I have some questions in here on interpretations to see if you guys are understanding what I'm communicating to you. And then at the end, if you have any questions about anything else, any other rule that you wondered about, or you're not sure how to apply it, or you're not sure how to tell your players how to apply it, please ask and I'll do my best to answer. So, rule changes for this year. Traveling violation. So, in the past, you would have noticed as officials when your player goes up for a shot, and the ball is blocked, and the player is brought back down to the floor, we called it travel, because that was the rule. This year, the rule changes, the ball is capped at the top of the shot, and all hands are on ball when the player comes back down to the floor. It's a jump ball. Okay, so that's a pretty significant change, but the key is the hands have to be on the ball. If they cap at the top and the hand comes off, and the player comes back down to the floor, travel. If the player releases the ball and the ball is capped at the top of the shot, we have nothing because the player released the ball. It doesn't matter how far out of their hands it came, we have no call. So they can come back down, they can get the ball, they can go back up for a shot, they can pass the ball, whatever they want to do. Clear? Okay. All right, so in this example, A1 jumps with the ball and is legally blocked by B1. Both players return to the playing court, with both of them having one or hands firmly on the ball. What is that? Jump ball, right? Rule change, jump ball. So a held ball. A1 with the ball in his hands is in continuous motion towards the basket looking to score. At this moment, B1 places his hands firmly on the ball A1 takes one or more steps than allowed by the traveling rule. What's the interpretation? Travel? Anyone else? This is a jump ball. We can't penalize that player that traveled when he doesn't have sole possession of the ball. So when the player gathers and drives through the key and a set of defenders' hands get on that ball, that's a jump ball. Okay? Before we move on to control of the ball, the other one that often happens is ball is tied up near the sideline or the baseline and one of the players steps out of bounds. We always, as officials, go to a jump ball because we have shared possession. Right? So we go to the jump ball first. Control of the ball. During a throw-in, whether the game clock is stopped or not, or during a free throw in the judgment of the officials, a player deliberately delays the process of taking the ball. Whether it's they're not stepping into the circle on a free throw, they're not stepping out of bounds to get the ball, they're directing their team about where to go and who's going to take the ball, they're not coming out of their huddles on a timeout. There's a new provision that is officially in the rule book this year, which is the ball becomes live when the official places the ball on the floor next to the throw-in, wherever the throw-in is going to happen, or on the free throw line. So be aware of that. We're just trying to speed up the game. So if No, if the player's walking around with it, there's still a provision in the rule book to call a delay of game, to give a delay of game warning. And in FIBA rules, a team gets 2 delay of game warnings. It's a combination of they don't come out, they're holding the ball and they won't come out of bounds to throw it in. They touch the ball after they score on their opponent's basket. They don't break their huddle. Those are all delay of games. Any combination of 2 of those things results in a technical foul. 2 warnings. You get 1 warning and a technical foul. Discretion on the throw-in? Yeah, there's always discretion with this. I mean, certainly as officials, we don't want to do this. This just upsets everybody on the court. It's not our intent to upset people with this. And yes, in the WNBA, especially depending on the age level you're doing, kids are confused, and so we still are trying to do some preventative stuff and encourage them to get over. This is really meant when it's really clear they're not coming to get the ball. Right? And I say to people, right now what I'm saying to the officials is, we're in preseason. I know WNBA isn't, but in a lot of leagues we're in preseason. Now's the time to do this, because coaches are going to adjust to this. They're going to start speeding up the timeouts, breaking the huddles, but it's just an irritant in the game if the players, the coaches, delay the game. You know, and if your team is ready to play and you're on defense and offense is still in their timeout huddle, you're frustrated as a coach. So it just gives us a little bit more control over when we can bring the ball in. You know, the ball goes on the floor, they get the 5-second count. I promise you, we put the ball on the floor, they are breaking the huddle and running to the ball. So we don't want to use this often, but the provision is there if we need it. Okay?
Coaches, if you've got questions, throw your hand up and I'll come find you so we can all hear questions and answers. I'll come to you.
Okay. Everyone okay with that?
We have Martha. Question here.
Oh, okay. Start here and then we'll come back over here.
There was a moment when my team was in school season was winning by like 4. I was trying to call time out to like tell my kids how to deal with that and not keep running after me so get there. And I was like threatening the technicals all over the place because I was taking an extra second to just let's not fast break and like talk about those things and I was just getting like threatening to yell right away. And I told him to throw the ball in. It was okay. I was like, I need to tell my girls to slow down. And I kind of completely just disrupted everything that made everybody upset and threw the game out of whack. So I just don't know how to react to that one. And I was like, we're still trying to teach what he was saying. And I just need an extra 20 seconds for everything else.
Okay, so I guess what I would ask you is, was it an extra 20 seconds in your 60-second timeout beyond your 60 seconds? It's a little bit of a gray, it's a little bit gray. You know, I mean, I think as officials, we're all human, right? It all depends on how we react to stressful situations, how we react in the game. I personally, that's not the way that I would manage that, but I think it depends on the level of official that you have, how much experience they have, how, you know, some of our officials tend to referee or can referee black and white versus in that gray area. So I think encouraging you to come out of the timeout is the first important thing. It's hard to say if it was sort of constant and it had happened several times throughout the game. It does add a real delay to the game. It can be a bit of an advantage. But if you're saying the offense was ready, had the ball, and you said throw it in, certainly we have that. We can do that, right? I don't think in that case threatening you with a technical foul is really the way to manage that. But it is really important for you as coaches on that timeout to understand that it's a 60-second timeout with a horn at 50. In that 10 seconds, you have to break your huddle and be ready to inbound the ball at 60. What happens in a lot of games is coaches push that. They extend the 60-second timeout, and a 60-second timeout now becomes a minute and a half. By the time the kids are ready to play, it's 2 minutes. It's 60 seconds from the time we start the timeout to the time they're ready to hand the ball in. So it would really help if you could break that huddle at 50, be ready to play at 60, and everybody's happy. But I do understand what you're saying. There was another question?
If it comes to that and they drop the ball, is the ball inbounds? Because if offense isn't taking the ball,
Yeah.
defense,
No, the ball's placed out of bounds at the point of the throw-in. So only offense can pick up the ball. Defense cannot go pick
okay,
it up.
so it's not a turnover opportunity.
It's not a turnover. They have 5 seconds to inbound the ball, pick it up get out of bounds and pick it
Gotcha.
up.
Then the ref would-
Inbound it, and then the ball turns over. Yeah, it's a violation.
Do you think that they might change it instead of like 50 seconds, that they might even bump it up to 45 seconds just to give them that extra time? Have they talked about that?
No, there's been no discussion about that. I would be very surprised because even 50 seconds isn't long enough. For a lot of coaches, they're talking for 60 seconds. I don't think that's going to happen. But just so you guys know, break your huddle at 50, be ready to play at 60. Okay? Good? Okay. So a goal made when it's value. Now, this may be a rule that as coaches you weren't aware of, because a lot of officials weren't aware of this, to be honest with you. In previous rules, if a player took a shot from the three-point area and it was touched by a defender in the two-point area, the points scored were 2. The rule is now, wherever the player takes the ball, or shoots the ball, doesn't matter if the ball is touched from someone in a two-point area, it counts as 3. It counts as 2, wherever they shoot from. Doesn't matter if the ball is touched after the shot. Okay? If you didn't know about it, this probably isn't a pretty significant change for you, but it is from an officiating perspective. So, A1 releases the ball on a shot from three-point area. The ball is on its upward flight and is touched by a defensive player and offensive player who is within A's two-point field goal area. The ball then continues its flight and enters the basket. What's the application of this? It's a 3. Doesn't matter that it's touched. Offense, defense, doesn't matter. 3-point attempt counts for 3 if it goes in.
The ball coming outside the rim, and the player tips it, does that still count as?
No.
It's only if it's like deflected off the hand or something like that. It's not a tip drill, it's just if it's deflected or touched.
That is correct. So that the attempt actually ends once the ball comes off the rim. So when the tip happens at the rim, that's a 2.
Okay, what if it doesn't, the flight of the ball does not hit the rim, so it's coming over, it's outside the cylinder,
Yeah.
and your offensive player tips it?
That's a 2.
Okay,
They're tipping it. If they tip it to the basket, that's a 2. If they touch it on a block or go up to get it, if they're facing the ball and they go up and it tips off their hand and goes into the basket, it's still a 3. But if they're facing the basket and they go up for the ball and they tip it into the basket, that's a 2.
Okay, so really it's all about deflections then, it's not about
Deflections.
tipping?
Absolutely, because a tip or a tap, in this case, is an attempt for a shot. So that ends the 3-point attempt. If it's a pass that ends up going into the basket, that's just deflected, it's a 3.
It's a 3?
If we deem it as, if we deem it as an attempt, or we can't tell if it's a pass or a shot, we have to say it's an attempt for a shot, and we have to count it as 3. Other questions?
I guess the main thing to add to that is it's on the upward ball flight.
Correct.
Like,
Absolutely.
a lot of these situations, it's coming down already. So it has to be caught, it's on the upward flight, so.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, it has to be on its, it is, it's on its upward flight. And that's when you're seeing the tip or the tap that is on the, when they're trying to block the ball, typically. Yeah. Timeouts. So for coaches that are coaching the WNBA, not a big change because it's sort of dictated how many timeouts you get. But for coaches coaching high school or JV where timeouts are normal, in the last 2 minutes of a game, each coach is permitted 2 timeouts, even if you have 3 left, because the way timeouts work is 2 in the first half, 3 in the second half for each team. Even if you've got 3 left in the second half, you can only use 2 in the last 2 minutes of the game. So just be aware of that when you've got 3 left. In this example, there's 2:09 left on the game clock in the 4th period, and Coach A requests his first timeout of the second half, so first of 3. With 1:58 on the game clock, the ball goes out of bounds and the game clock is stopped. The timeout for Team A is granted. 2 timeouts. Doesn't matter that you requested it at 2:09, it was granted at 1:58. So you as a coach, if you don't want this timeout, you have to get up to the scorer's table before they hit the horn to communicate to the officials that a timeout has been requested. Because once the horn goes, it can't be canceled. This is really important if you're coaching high school, because you may want to save your timeouts for later in the 4th quarter, right? Because in the last 2 minutes, if your team gets the ball, you get to advance the ball to the front court. So, really important.
Would you understand the philosophy behind that? Like, why would they make that change?
It's to speed up the game. I just had to go to Mike here, but...
And what's the purpose of speeding up the game?
I think that we can all agree that we don't want a game to go 2 or 3 hours. We want flow. The point of basketball and playing basketball, and we can talk about philosophy and advantage, disadvantage, and contact, and is flow. I think we all agree as fans, as coaches, we want flow in the game, right? We don't want whistle, 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 stop, 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 stop. Nobody enjoys playing a game like that.
The one problem I see with this is sometimes the coaches will put up their hands for a timeout, and I can see this happening, and they'll say they called it at 2:09, and you didn't see them till 1:58. Like, this happens, so that's going to be kind of a sticky issue, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree, and as officials, it's our job to really be aware that that's happening. But remember, a timeout comes through the table, doesn't come through the officials. So you can't look at me and yell at me and ask for a timeout. You go to the table. If it's clear with the table, and we didn't hear it, we need to know that. Yeah, it's really important for you to get up there and say, hey, I wanted a timeout. As long as they hit their horn and we know and they communicate it to us, you don't want to wait 11 seconds until you're telling us, hey, I called a timeout at 2:09 and the ball was dead, right? Make sure you get our attention and say I called a timeout, and we'll manage that. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Backcourt. This is a pretty significant change. So the wording's been changed just to provide clarification, but in the past, when a ball was advancing from the backcourt to the front court, if the ball touched the front court, a player in the front court, an official in the front court, the ball was in the front court. And the team that had control has the ball in the front court, whether they're holding it or not. The change is now, when we're advancing the ball from the backcourt to the front court, there has to be player control in the front court. So A brings the ball up, they pass the ball to the front court, their teammate catches the ball, both feet are in the front court, they're holding the ball, The ball is in the front court, the team has control in the front court. The ball now has front court status, okay? So, A1 is standing with both feet in the backcourt near center line when A1 attempts a bounce pass to A2, who is also standing with both feet in the backcourt. On the pass, the ball touches the front court or a referee before touching A2. What's the ruling? It's what? Sorry, I can't hear you. It's still in the backcourt. It's legal. No backcourt violation. This is the important part for those of you that are interested in the 8-second count. New 8-second count. Because there was no possession by the player in the front court, but the ball did get into the front court because it touched a referee, the floor. Now if it goes back into the backcourt, new 8-second count. Not new 24, so those of you that are playing with a 24-second shot clock, the 24-second shot clock continues, but a new 8-second count. Adam, there's a question up in that corner. So, you know, I can see some coaches using this to their advantage, throwing it off their teammate in the front court if they're close to the end of the 8-second count. Legal, right? The ball can get front court status, but there's no player control or team control in the front court. So, can still go to the back court. I can throw it off, you know, if it bounces off my teammate's leg and back to the back court, or I fumble the ball in the front court and it goes to the back court, either team can gain possession and there's no violation.
Can they do that on purpose, like,
Yep.
and then make a new 8 seconds?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah, doesn't have to be accidental. There has to be player control in the front court for the
So
ball.
I can actually get my player to actually deliberately hit my player's knee and bounce it backward?
Yeah.
Okay.
I equate it a little bit to that throw-in where my teammate, you know, the end court throw-in, my teammate has their back to them, I throw it off their back, step in, grab the ball, and go up for a shot. Same kind of thing, right?
During the first game last week, the ball, my player threw it up to the other player who was in the front court, and both players on the offense and the defense touched it, and it went into the backcourt, and the ref called a backcourt violation. It was my understanding that the player didn't have full control getting into the front court, but they still called it a backcourt violation.
If what you're describing to me is as it was, then you're correct. It shouldn't have been a backover violation.
It shouldn't have been?
Should not have been a backover
Like, I
violation.
tried to explain that because they had that at the coaches meeting, but the ref just said, no, that's a backcourt violation.
It's not a backcourt violation. And, you know, it's unfortunate you may have ended up with someone who hasn't gone to a clinic yet this year.
So,
We go to,
but the offensive player has to make one move at least, right?
no, not make a move, right?
Two-hand
Catch the
possession?
pass. Not even two-hand possession. You know, you can have control on one hand.
Yeah.
They have to have control of the ball. So whether it's on a catch, a dribble, a pass, a shot, they have to have control of the ball.
Okay.
Can't just be a fumbled pass, a tip, it can't off my leg. I have to have control in the front court.
Okay.
Yeah. Adam.
Direct it, but barely with your fingertips, kind of.
It's a really good
Where do
question.
you define control there?
So the question is, if you direct it and it's clear you're controlling the direct, while referees are human, right, we need to use our judgment. Me personally, and I've already communicated this to people, I would deem that control. You have a lot of control when you tap the ball. So if I go to catch the pass and I see a defender's coming and I tap it back to my teammate in the backcourt, that's control.
Okay, but now let's say you're talking about smaller kids and they're practically tripping as they go to get the ball.
Yeah.
And they're more like slapping at it, and maybe it bounces once or twice before making its way into the backcourt again.
Yeah. Again, I would say that you really have to use your judgment. In that, what you described there, I would say that's not a controlled tap. Right? And you have to judge based on the level that you're officiating as well. How much skill do they have? Do they really know what they're doing? Do they really understand? Yeah, but I would agree with you. I would say in the second scenario, that's not back over. Okay? So in this example, Team A is in control of the ball in its front court when the ball is simultaneously touched by A1 and B1, and then it goes into Team A's backcourt. where the ball is touched by A2? What's the interpretation on this? This is back over. So it's a little bit different than the scenario he described because this actually says team A did have control in the front court. So if the ball is simultaneously touched by two players, one from offense, one from defense, after the team establishes control in the front court, back over. If team A is the first to touch the ball in the back court. Okay? Team A is in control of the ball in the backcourt when the ball is passed to A1 completely in the front court. A1 fumbles the ball and deflects the ball back to Team A's backcourt where the ball is first touched by A2. Interpretation for this? No violation, right? Legal play, Team A did not establish control of the ball in their front court. Okay? Double foul. No change to the rule here. Really just clarification on what constitutes a double foul. So in order for a double foul to have occurred, all of these conditions have to be true. So both fouls are player fouls. In other words, one can't be on the coach or a substitute. Both fouls involve physical contact. Both fouls are between opponents. And both fouls are committed at approximately the same time. Right? In these examples, in A1 and B1 push each other, or on the rebound, A1 and B1 push each other, or while anticipating a pass from his teammate, A1 and B1 push each other. Would these be double fouls? You think, based on what I just described? These are all double fouls because they all meet all of those conditions that I just outlined previously. After a rebound, A1 insults B1 verbally and B1 reacts by punching A1 with a fist. Do you think this is an example of a double foul? Not a double foul. A1's foul is a technical foul. B1's foul is a disqualifying foul. If a player punches another player, he better be disqualified. Okay? The game is resumed with 1 free throw for Team B and 2 free throws for A1 and possession of the ball for Team A. So we apply everything in the order it occurred if we have to apply penalties to the fouls that are called. Okay? If you are a rulebook buff, I don't know how many of you are, but in case you are, there's a change in the order of these articles in the rulebook. So 36 is technical foul. Last year it was 38. 37 is unsporting foul. It was 36 last year. And 38 is disqualifying foul. And that was Article 37 last year. Technical foul. Another pretty significant change. A player is disqualified for the remainder of the game when he is charged with 2 technical fouls. Last year and previous years, 5. So I like this rule change as an official because 5 technical fouls is a lot. The opponents are awarded 1 free throw, another very significant change. Not 2 free throws anymore, 1 free throw and the ball at center. Okay? So in this example, A1 has committed his first technical foul during the game, during the first half for hanging on the rim. The second technical foul is called against him during the second half for unsportsmanlike behavior. Is this player disqualified? Disqualified, right? A1 is disqualified, and they're supposed to go to the dressing room. That's the rule in the FIBA rulebook. Remember, these are international rules. If you're dealing with young kids, please don't send them to the dressing room by themselves, right? Let's use your discretion. I actually think there's a Basketball Manitoba or an MHSAA provision that says keep them on the bench and make sure you can see them. You know, if they're being really out of control, if you have a parent that could take them, deal with them, that, you know, their parent could kind of take them from the bench, that would be good. But even though the rule says they have to leave the bench area, let's not do that when we're dealing with young kids, okay? Article 38, the addition of a disqualifying foul. So there is now a non-contact disqualifying foul in the rulebook. When a player is disqualified for a flagrant unsportsmanlike non-contact foul action, the penalty is the same as for a contact disqualifying foul. So a traveling violation is called against A1. Frustrated, he verbally insults the official and is disqualified. So in this case, 2 free throws and the ball to be at center for a throw-in. Okay. Pretty clear? So technical foul penalties changed, unsporting foul, disqualifying foul, that penalty hasn't changed, it's the same. With a disqualification, a person is no longer a team member or team bench personnel, therefore he can't be penalized for additional unsportsmanlike behavior. So in this example, A1 is disqualified for flagrant unsportsmanlike behavior. He leaves the playing court and verbally insults an official. We can't do anything about this because he's been disqualified, but we would write up something on the back of the score sheet. And I would certainly hope that you as a coach would do something to deal with it. There's no further penalty to be applied here. When a substitute, excluded player, or team follower is disqualified and the coach is charged with a technical foul, it's recorded as a B. So there are two types of technical fouls for a coach, a direct and an indirect. When there's a bench technical, it's an indirect. When it's a technical directly to the coach for being disrespectful or, behavior that the official doesn't like, it's a direct. Not for WNBA coaches, obviously, because there's a provision in the zero tolerance policy for 2 direct technical fouls to a team for disrespecting and the game is over. But in a normal game, a coach can get 2 indirect and a direct before they're disqualified, or 2 direct before they're disqualified, or 3 indirect before they're disqualified. Okay? A1 has been charged with his 5th personal foul. Frustrated, he verbally insults the official and is disqualified. So if the official wants to give a technical foul in this case, what would it be? They're already disqualified, but they're on the bench. This one goes to the coach. This is an indirect technical foul to the coach because this player is bench personnel. Okay? Special situations. When we can cancel penalties, but we need to be aware of what the penalties are. So because there's only 1 free throw in a technical foul now, we can't cancel that against an unsporting foul because an unsporting foul is 2 free throws in the ball. So we need to know when a double foul occurs in that case. So B1 commits an unsportsmanlike technical foul against A1 on a successful field goal. A1 then commits a technical foul. What would happen in this situation? What should the official do? What are the penalties? What's the penalty for an unsporting foul when the basket is made? 1. This is where it's important to know the rules in the rule book. Made basket, unsporting foul, 1 shot. Could the official cancel these 2 penalties? Yes, because the penalties are the same. So 2 points for A1, the foul for the unsporting and the technical foul, 1 free throw plus possession for both teams. Cancel the penalties, and the game is resumed at a throw-in. Because it was a made basket and a team is entitled to the ball, we're giving the ball to Team B. Because they're entitled to the ball as a result of the made basket after we cancel the penalties. Clear? Any questions about that? To get free, B1 pushes off A1 and a personal foul is called. This is Team B's 3rd team foul. Later, not at approximately the same time, A1 hits B1 with his elbow, called as an unsporting foul. Okay, what can we do with this? Not a double foul, right? Because they're not the same. They're not they're not just regular contact fouls. 1 is an unsporting. So we can't apply this as a double foul. So not a double foul because the fouls of B1 and A1 did not occur at approximately the same time. The game is resumed with 2 free throws for B1 and possession of the ball for Team B because this is just Team B's 3rd foul and they're not shooting. So we go to the unsporting, apply the unsporting penalty, and give the ball to Team B at center. Okay, so this is an interpretation. And one that's really important for you as coaches to understand because I don't want you to be frustrated when the officials don't give your player shots for this foul. Our direction from CABO, the Canadian Association of Basketball Officials, and from FIBA is in this situation, this is a non-shooting foul. So a player has the ball. They go up for a shot, and while they go up for the shot, they're fouled. And instead of following through on the shot, they pass the ball to their teammate. This is a pass. This is not a shot. So in this situation, the player would not get shots for the foul as a result of the foul. Okay? Not in the rule book, but an interpretation. So I just want you guys to be aware of it because that's how we as officials are applying it. That's it for me. Do you guys have any other questions about anything else? I've already gone over my time, I know, but any other rules that you're wondering about that I can provide clarification on?
Did I understand correctly, so player A1 doesn't like the call, lips you off, gone, right?
Yep.
Let's say the coach, you make a call, coach says this exact same thing, but he's allowed to do it twice to you? Is that what they're saying, really?
Well, I mean, it's at your discretion, right? One is one you're actually not applying as a technical foul, you're applying as a disqualifying foul. Okay. It's at your discretion.
Okay.
The official has the discretion to toss a coach if they're completely belligerent and disrespectful, whether it's their first technical foul or not.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, on the where there's a technical foul, but they make the basket, and the other team gets the ball. If by mistake they go to give it to the wrong team, and you want to question the refs, I know a lot of times they don't want to be talked to during the game. You have to do it at halftime. How would you address that? Do you say like, you're going to give them the, my player did it, but they scored, but you're giving them the ball, and that's not the right call? How do you talk to the ref?
Okay, so you've let them shoot the technical foul shot, but then you give the wrong player the ball at center? I just want to understand your question.
Right.
Okay. I would suggest to you that you do your absolute best to get the attention of the official in a way that's respectful.
Okay.
I can't make officials talk to you. What we say is, if you're addressing them during a dead ball in an appropriate manner and you're respectful, it doesn't matter that it's not at halftime, they need to deal with it then, because technically, once they hand the ball to that player out of bounds, that is not a correctable error. By rule, if you read the correctable errors, that's not one of them. So you want to make sure you get their attention and get the right team the ball.
Hi, this is more of just a general, how does a coach react in a strange situation with a referee? I coach 12-year-olds. Last weekend we played against a team with a really, really large kid. I actually thought he was the older brother of a kid, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 12-year-olds are that big, really? He would foul people by tomahawking them very, very hard, so we were trying to drive at him, and we were keeping track of the fouls, and we were celebrating because we knew he was fouled out. And I said to the ref, because the foul happened and they never fouled him out, the ref came over and said, no, he's not fouled out, so he got another foul. And what is going on? That's 6 fouls. So afterwards, I got the score sheet. They had only marked 2 fouls on him. And so I guess in-game situations, how do you deal that when you know, I mean, everybody was cheering every time he would get a foul, but I didn't want to cause a scene. You know what I mean? I didn't want to stop the flow of the game. Or
I do know what you're saying. So the WNBA, it's a little bit tough in the WNBA for a lot of reasons. One, you're often dealing with very young, very inexperienced officials that are just doing their best to call the game. So asking them then to keep track of fouls, personal fouls on a player in their head is difficult. The second part that you're dealing with is volunteer scorekeepers, often parents. Now, I don't know in that situation if it was the team.
It was out, sadly enough, they didn't bring any parents, and so our parents had to run the score clock and the score sheet. And so I didn't have anything to say about afterwards because it was one of our own parents who clearly didn't know how to keep track of fouls.
Yeah, so I would ask for help from the gym supervisor. If you're concerned and you know that it's become an issue, ask for help from the gym supervisor. Maybe they can sit down and do the score sheet if you have a parent that doesn't understand it. It's really unfortunate because as officials, if we can't keep track in our head, and certainly we can't, of 10-player personal fouls, we have to trust what's on the score sheet. Now, I would guess in that situation, if we're talking about 6, they must have some idea that there were more, but we really need them on the score sheet. So I would ask for the gym supervisor's help in that case. Perhaps the coach's help. Sometimes the coach tracks the fouls. Sometimes I use that. If they're tracking fouls, maybe they're honest enough to help you with that. So that's a really difficult situation. It depends on if you have knowledge. So if you know that that you had 2 3-point shots and they're not on the score sheet, we can correct that on the score sheet. If you are aware of number of team fouls and it's not right on the score sheet, we can get that corrected. If you know without a shadow of a doubt that this player has 3 fouls, you can correct that. Yeah, but you have to know, you have to have knowledge. You can't just randomly correct it.
I'm just curious of what sort of direction, there's clearly different approaches that refs take. I'm WNBA 10, 11-year-old girls, and there's some refs there that are just, I want them to get medals. They're fantastic. They explain things to the girls, and they treat it as a teaching opportunity and a development opportunity. And this scenario that you've given as an example, you know, there's some argument that the scorekeepers need a bit of coaching and assistance and patience and clearly saying, okay, who was fouled and what's, I'm just curious what, as a league, what instruction, direction, or influence are the refs given? Because there's other ones that they're just, you know, the kids are, you know, especially when I was coaching them at 9 years old, you know, it's shift change, come on, and these girls don't know their elbow from their knees, and
okay, so from a direction perspective, all of the officials that referee in the WNBA have to attend a clinic every year, as do all of the high school and university officials in Manitoba. Every year we attend a full-day clinic. WNBA officials are also mentored by senior officials, so we'll get senior officials out, especially for those new officials, to give them some direction. I completely understand what you're saying, because I can tell you I've been on both sides. I'm an official, but I've also coached my kids in the WNBA. I coached my kids in the WNBA for years, my son and my daughter. My husband and I both did. And even as an official, I didn't get respect sometimes from the officials. So I understand what you're saying. I think the keys are, one, you as coaches really need to work to make sure that your approach is respectful. If it's confrontational at all, we're often dealing with young kids. My son started refereeing in the WNBA when he was 13. So I get it, but he's a 13-year-old kid that, you know, and some of them are very easily intimidated, so their way to defend against that is to just say, I'm not going to talk to you at all. Only because they don't know how. So, you know, I would love to say we can get them all to interact and be calm and work with the players, but for some, it's a personality thing. It's just who they are and how they respond to things. And for others, they're a little bit more laid back and they can interact with you. But maybe they've just come off a game where the coach was very confrontational and they're just not prepared to deal with another coach, regardless of how respectful you are. So I think we just have to find a balance. But all I can say to you guys is it's really important in every game to talk to them during a dead ball, to ask a question when you need to ask a question. But if it's just running commentary about every single play, that's a travel, that's a foul, that's 3 in the key. At some point, we all just shut off and go, I'm done. I am just not going to talk to you anymore. So, you know, if I could ask you guys to find a balance, we will continue to encourage our young officials to find that balance and to understand that we're not saying don't ever talk to the coach. We're saying make sure you talk to them when they ask a question. If you come up to me and say, that was a foul, I'm not even going to respond to you. If you say, could you explain to me why that wasn't a foul, I might be able to explain that to you. So I think it's twofold. It's about your approach, and it's about how they respond, and if they're mature enough to be able to respond to you, right? So.
All right, thanks, Martha. Actually, just before we break on this, there was a topic that brought up about scorekeeper education. That's probably one of the aspects of our game as a whole, not just minor basketball, but with high school and so on. One project that we're working on at Basketball Manitoba this year is to create 3 small educational videos. And small meaning because a lot of times you could probably see yourself doing this at many games. We got 3 minutes left on the warm-up clock, and I'm the host school. And I'm now doing this in the crowd, going, hey, I know you, I need you guys scorekeeping. And they're like, they don't try to make eye contact. Or as a parent, I coach in the WNBA as well, and I'm looking at any parent, hey, I know who you are, I need you to scorekeep. And a lot of times it's intimidating and most people don't want to get involved. One of the pieces that we're looking to make, we've already got the dialogue, all the content ready, we just have to put it together. It'll probably be ready sometime in the new year, is a 5-minute video on how to do the sheet, 5 minutes on how to do the clock, and 5 minutes how to do the shot clock. And so it would be a YouTube-friendly video that at least if I'm pulling somebody out of the crowd or asking a young student of mine at school, I can say, for a good reason, take out your smartphone right now, which they all would have one, and watch this 3, 4, 5-minute video and just get a better understanding of what it's about. We talk a lot about player education, coach education, officials education, but a lot of times the scorekeepers are the last thing we think about. So it's one thing we're doing. It's not going to solve all the issues, but at least it's a resource, another tool. Video tends to teach a lot better. One thing we did also add last year on the back of every score sheet, and this is for minor right up to high school, is a basic one-page instruction of how to score keep. And you'll see that on every score sheet. It's the goldenrod color, and what we suggest is people tear that off and put it right on the score table right in front of them. There's a sample completed score sheet of what a score sheet should look like when it's finished, and also 10 quick points of what to do with the shot clock and what to do with the game clock. So.
And I can tell you, as a parent, I've done the score sheet and I know how it should be done, and I still sit down and panic. Oh my God, I got to do team fouls and I've got to do personal fouls and it's crazy. So I think the training will help, but we also, you guys maybe as coaches should spend a little bit of time with the parents that are going to score keep and just help them understand how they should do it.